If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
All right, we have Ashley Yoder back on the show. She returns to action October 26th at UFC Singapore. She will now take on Randa Markos at that event. Happy to welcome back Spider Monkey to the program. How are you, Ashley?
Hi, how are you? I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, and it's great to have you back on the show. And I remember when you first popped on my radar covering the sport of MMA, I was watching Invicta FC 20 around 3 years ago. You had that great fight with Amber Brown, that armbar submission, and then a month later you signed with the UFC. I was at that event, covering that event in Albany. But that win over Amber Brown, at least in my mind, that stuck out to me as like your signature performance. That was like your signature win that always kind of stuck out to me until your last fight in June in Greenville, because that performance against Syuri Kondo was as dominant and as impressive as you'll see these days. I think you have a new signature win in your career. That's my thoughts. What say you? Do you agree with me on that?
I really wanted that finish, and I feel like, my previous fights before the UFC, I've had a lot of finishes. So I think that, being in the UFC, you're at a higher platform. People don't really get to see, they don't really have, unless you're a real fight fan, you're not really seeing my past performances, unless you were there, or you start YouTube and stuff. But I think one of my favorite performances, I think the Amber Brown was crazy because like the armbar was kind of like a non-traditional way to get to an armbar. But my Liz Tracy fight was a lot of fun. But the thing is, this last fight, I was just talking about it in my head. So my coach is really big on visual training, best scenarios, worst scenarios, right? So I'm drilling this all the time, anytime I have a free moment. And the best scenario was the first round, exactly in my head. Like I'm talking about from the walkout to how I was feeling to just trying to feel the heat of the lights inside the octagon, like all these visual things played out exactly how I had them in my head, except I would have got the armbar. Like I missed the armbar just like this much, and I was like, damn. So other than that, no, I was really excited. I was just trying to be more myself in the cage. It was actually the funnest I've had since I've been in the UFC. Maybe my Justine Kish fight was a lot of fun just because we were all over the place. But other than that, I was really excited to be able to kind of control the fight where I wanted it instead of playing in someone else's. I've stood up with a lot of stand-up fighters, and clearly it hasn't worked out so well for me. So, just getting comfortable on the big stage is one of the big things I'm trying to work on.
So would you say that's probably, between that fight and the previous fights, that's probably the biggest difference, is that you just had more fun in there? You just kind of enjoyed the process a little bit more. You sort of let loose a little bit more in there. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I just always try to be sometimes too, clearly not perfect because I make a lot of mistakes. I get punched a lot, I get bleeding. But, I've always tried to be a well-rounded fighter. And the best way it's been described is learning on the job. I don't have prior experience before I started fighting. I just kind of started fighting. So I'm trying to be in an accelerated learning process and while working at the same time. It's been a lot, but I'm trying to find a comfort zone of MMA, not just stand-up, not just ground, So I think in that fight, there was a lot of times that in my head, I could have went for a submission, but it only would take a split second of her turn around, me being on bottom in the guard, So it was one of the big things for me was just trying to control position and do damage. So I was excited about that win for sure.
I know the last time we spoke, one of the main things you wanted to accomplish this year is you wanted to stay as active as possible. So you just fought in June. Not, pretty good turnaround. 4 months, get right back in there. Is this what you wanted, or did you want to get back in a little bit sooner?
Absolutely. This is perfect timing. I really was worried that I would land on one of my best friend's weddings. There's one that happened just in September and the next one's in November. So it's perfect timing, right in the middle. So no, I wish I would be active more, last minute fights would be awesome. I always train, so I'm always ready, and I keep my weight pretty close. So it wouldn't be a hard hard thing to do, to be a last minute fight.
You were originally supposed to fight Zonan Yan at that event. She got injured, and now you get Randa Markos. Both women are obviously very tough, but in terms of like name value, I'd say Randa is probably the better option when it comes to opportunity. So how did you react first when you lost the opponent, and then got the news that Randa stepped up not too long after that?
Actually, I felt like it was all in the same message. So they're like, "Hey, you're fighting Randa now." I'm like, "Okay." Like, I've never, I don't think I'm in a place of position with the UFC to just say no to a fight. So, stylistically, I think Randa is more my style, more well-rounded across the board. So it'll be more of a fun fight for the crowd, just because we could be anywhere and there's going to be scrambles, there's going to be punches, and we both like head and arm throws. So I think it's very stylistically, it's going to be a funner fight versus me just getting kicked in the face. But so I'm excited, and I think it's more comfortable for me to go overseas and fight for the first time with someone that has to do the same. So being in someone's home territory versus experience that overseas fight with someone that also has a big time gap. So
I was just going to ask you, because Singapore is a place that has a really rich history in martial arts, and not only that, the fans there just have so much appreciation for the sport, but even more so for the athletes that compete in it. So I was actually just talking to Frank Camacho about it. He's on the card. He made his UFC debut in Singapore the last time they fought there, and he said it's just a very special place. What will fighting in Singapore mean to you as a professional martial artist?
Well, I'm really excited, one, that it's my first time going overseas, and it will be Singapore. I've always wanted to go to Singapore. It gives me the opportunity to do that. And it's something special when you have people that really support fighters. There's times that you go to places that, I fought everywhere from, Las Vegas, and then going all the way to South Carolina. The fans are always great, but it's just a whole different set when they really appreciate all fighters, not just male fighters or, certain ones they know their names. Like, I like that kind of stuff.
Is there anything particular about Singapore that drew you into it as a place you've always wanted to go to?
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to go to Thailand too, but I've just anywhere I've not really traveled that much, but one of the things was I really wanted to go to Thailand. I know it's not that far from there, and it's just the culture. It's a very clean place. I've heard nothing but great things about it. They're like, if you're ever having to fight overseas, that would be one of the places to go. So I'm really pumped about this fight.
Are you going to try to spend a couple extra days out there because it's a place you've wanted to visit, whether it's you go out there a couple days earlier or stay a couple days later?
I really wish I could. It's just been, I have a lot of commitments back here. And, I train people. I have a lot of classes I teach. So it's just coming back and working. So I'm going to enjoy my time while I'm there. It's not going to be a weight cut really at all. So it's just going to be relaxing, and I'll have a week prior to kind of enjoy it.
When you sort of visualize how this all plays out on October 26th against Randa Markos, obviously it's a big opportunity for you against a recognizable name, chance to make it 2 straight wins. How do you see it all going down in Singapore?
I think it will, hopefully all my hard work that I've been training, all the blood, sweat, and tears that I've put into this camp will really show. And, kind of like my last fight, hopefully I'll just keep growing on that.
The state of your division has changed quite a bit since the last time we spoke. We've had 2 new champions crowned since then, with Jessica Andrade, and now Zhang Wei Li is the champ at 115 pounds. The division is really starting to sort of freshen up, some new faces, some new opportunities in front of you. How do you like the direction of the women's strawweight division right now?
It is. There's a lot of changes going on. There's a lot of... it's exciting. I like sometimes you need a little fresh face on a division to kind of pique its interest. I mean, I feel like as females, we're always fun to fights to watch anyways, but it just kind of changes the dynamic and who's going to fight who and what's a good fight, so it's fun when things like this are switched up.
I wanted to ask you about this because ESPN's Mark Raimondi did an incredible feature talking about how much fighting and in martial arts has meant to you after the loss of your brother, and the trials and the tribulations, the sort of ups and downs, the emotional toll that all, understandably took on you. I honestly had no idea about anything that was told in that story, and it was incredible to read and see the honesty that you showed, that your mother showed in that piece as well. It was just a phenomenal piece. If no one's checked it out that's watching this right now, what sort of inspired you to open up and tell that story, and how therapeutic was that for you to talk about it in the way that you did?
So I kind of, like, if you watch Ultimate Fighter, I kind of was in one of the episodes, like, I was telling JJ, who's fighting this tomorrow, one of my best friends, her and another castmate, Jamie Moyle, about the story of how my brother passed and all this stuff. And it kind of got out there, and I had a lot of people reach out to me after the show, with their support and their stories. When I did the story with Mark, I was really nervous when it came out. Like, my stomach kind of dropped when I first read it. One, because there is a couple of details that my mom didn't know about my brother's passing that I've kind of protected her from. But the second is, which at the end of the day, I think it's helped. It was kind of like a chip off my shoulder at that point. But also, there's more people that now know my story, and people have reached out to me and really, and a lot of support. I didn't want any sympathy from it. I just want to give people that, have been through, whether it's death or, some kind of tragedy, that they think there's no end, or it's all just dark in front of them, that no matter what your beliefs, no matter where you're from, or, if you work hard and really want something, or you want to change, you have to do it. And that's kind of what I've done, so I just want to be able to give back in a way that will help someone, whether it's one person or, 20. So I'm very grateful for that platform and opportunity. And, like I said, I really hope that people got a positive message out of it. A lot of people are like, yeah, it made me cry. I was like, well, that wasn't my, he did the way he had told the story was really great. But at the same time, I didn't want the attention on the sympathetic side. I really just want to kind of give people motivation to, strive for something that is better than, depression, or, just thinking that there's not anything else out there. And, I still have a lot of room to grow. I'm working every day, but, like I said, I love what I do. And, I just hope that, this platform is giving people a chance to kind of see hope in whatever situation they're going through.
I think you portrayed that very well in the piece also, not just about the sympathetic part of it, but I think the motivational part of it as well, the inspirational part of it. It was really incredible stuff, and I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that we appreciate the way you opened up in that piece, because it was really good stuff.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And the last thing I wanted to ask you about before we let you go, enjoy the rest of the weekend, I wanted to ask you about what happened in Tampa this week, because the reports about Joanna comes out having difficulties with the weight cut. She kept saying that, it's not Friday yet. And then this morning she walks on the scale, just pimping her way up to the scale like it was nothing. She looked healthy. She didn't look drained. And she hits 115.5 like it was no big deal. Like, I'm not sure if it was something that you followed throughout the week, but with it being in your division and a big fight between her and Michelle Watterson coming up, what was your take on that whole thing and how it was handled?
Well, at first, I saw it on Instagram, and I was like, so immediately, I talked to JJ about it, and she's like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. But at the same time, it's like one of those things that, Joanna was my coach on the show. So, of course, I follow her. I'm a huge fan of her. And she was really always hard on, making sure people made weight. So I was kind of confused that, that would even be a question. But, people hear one thing. Maybe she was struggling at, kind of plateauing, and they had to change something up, and it just got spread out. People want to be able to be the first to say something, right? So maybe that's, I don't know the whole situation. I know that she made weight. I know that Mackenzie Dern made weight, which is even, I'm just really excited that all these girls in the division are, it shouldn't be a praise that you make weight. It's part of our job. So we've all had, there's times that, I've and Invicta had an issue, and it happens, but you have to be a professional about it and not let it happen again, or figure out ways around it. So she definitely made weight and made all the people that were talking crazy look stupid. So I'm excited actually for that fight. I think it's going to be a really good fight. I
know you're sort of biased because Joanna was your coach, but as putting your analyst hat on, who do you like in that fight?
I think Joanna, she, it takes a lot as a champ. And you see it, every person that's been a champion in the UFC, they lose their belt. It's you can see the mental wear on them from that. It's almost taking a piece of like their heart away. Like, you know, there's just like something that's missing after that. But it takes a huge person to not only lose, but come back and like ready to face the next toughest opponent. So, you know, I have a soft spot in my heart for Joanna. I think she's an amazing person. And, you know, I think it's, you know, a really great opportunity for her to really showcase back to where she was, you know, so.
I'm looking forward to that fight. Ashley Yoder getting ready to face Randa Markos October 26th as the UFC returns to Singapore. Really looking forward to the fight and to the card. Ashley, before I let you go, let the folks know where they can find and follow you on the web, social media, any shout-outs, sponsors, anything you want to get off your chest. The floor is yours.
Okay, I have a lot. No, I was kidding. So you can follow me at Spider Monkey Yoda on Instagram. That's pretty much my only active thing. I mean, I have other active, but I'm, you know, if you want to laugh, that's where you need to go, and everybody needs to laugh. So I really, really, really want to thank my management team, Iridium, for, you know, one, setting up this interview, and two, really just getting me all my sponsors. Complex, they've got me virus stuff, Miss Mary Jane CBD. I have BC Fit Meals as my food sponsor this camp. My dogs are a sponsor. They have their food made by Visionary Pets. So I really got a huge support team now, and I like it that I'm growing and, you know, learning all these new things about being a professional and being able to get some help behind the, you know, when you're going through camps and stuff. So
thank you, Ashley. Appreciate the time as always. All the best to you October 26th, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You too. Bye.